People who were secretly in competition with you do not want you to change, and they fear your next version. They fear the evolution. They fear what you're going to become, and what does that mean for them? People who are secretly in competition with you or who are rooting for your downfall, they don't like the evolution. Trying to argue with somebody about your identity shift is like arguing with a first grader about why you've decided to go to the 5th grade. This is just where I am now. Hi guys. If I may speak candidly about this topic, why your identity shift is so disturbing to many. So this is something that I am noticing firsthand in my own life. Why your identity shift is so disturbing. Why are people so addicted to the version of yourself that you used to be? So much so that they will fight you back at the fact that you desire to change or that you have decided to be somebody different. Why is your identity shift so disturbing? We're going to talk about it. First and foremost, your identity shift is disturbing because people don't want you to be who you want to be. People want you to be who they need you to be. Meaning that the version of yourself that you used to be used to give people validation in their own life to be whoever they were. When you decide that you're going to change, you are a mirror in front of people's faces. And it makes them question their own identity. It makes them question what they're doing in their own life. Now, people who truly love you are going to be okay with the fact that you have decided to change and evolve. People who were secretly in competition with you do not want you to change, and they fear your next version. They fear the evolution. They fear what you're going to become, and what does that mean for them? Now, people who truly love you and accept you and want the best for you are more than happy with who you decide to evolve into. Of course, they know it's going to take some time to get to know you and to get to know the new version of you. But again, people who are secretly in competition with you or who are rooting for your downfall, they don't like the evolution. They don't like when you decide you're going to level up. They don't like when you decide you're going to glow up. They don't like when you decide you're going to take your life seriously and boss up. They don't like that. Why? Because it is a mirror reflection of how they feel about themselves. Do they secretly feel inadequate? Did you being the way that you used to be make them have permission to continue to live the way they live? For example, this is a trivial example, but if somebody is an alcoholic or somebody who is addicted to a certain type of drug and you get along with that person because you guys both have the same habit and you're okay with each other's presence because they're not going to make me feel bad for the fact that I'm addicted to alcohol, and I'm not going to make them feel bad for the fact that I'm addicted to alcohol. But when somebody in that relationship decides, you know what, I don't want to be this person anymore, I'm going to get rid of the drugs, or I'm going to get rid of the alcohol, or I'm going to get rid of the promiscuity, or whatever the it is, now it makes you hold up a mirror to yourself. Hold on. If John is no longer going to be X, Y, and Z, what does that mean about me? If Sarah is no longer going to do X, Y, and Z, what does that mean for me? Does she think she's better than me now because she's not doing the things that we used to do? Does he think he's better than me now because he's doing this and I'm not doing that? No. People who decide to change, people who decide to identity shift, they're doing so because they want better for themselves. They're not doing it to look down on anybody or to shame anybody or to make people think that they're holier than thou now because they have decided to change their lives. However, the insecurity in people You can call it the insecurity. You can call it the fear. You can even call it the entities that are attached to certain people are going to be triggered when you decide that what used to be okay is no longer okay. Sleeping in till 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock is no longer okay with me. Hanging out at the bar every single weekend is no longer okay with me. Having sex with 5 guys in 1 week is no longer okay with me. You guys get the examples that I'm giving, right? But once you tell people or people start to witness that those things are no longer okay with you anymore, again, it holds the mirror up to themselves. Does so-and-so think they're better than me now because they have decided to live in a different way? No, absolutely not. It has nothing to do with the person who is deciding to change and everything to do with you believing, well, is what I'm doing wrong? Because so-and-so is not doing this anymore. Well, now am I wrong? Am I the one who's in the wrong? That is my personal opinion about why your identity shift is so disturbing. It's not the fact that you've decided to do better for yourself or want better for yourself. It is the insecurity in other people forcing them to look at themselves and say, do I need to change in that way? Or am I okay continuing to be this way and allowing that person to be that way? When you truly love somebody, when you truly want the best for somebody, if they decide they're going to change their life, you should let them. You should not criticize them. You should not critique them. You should not try and tear them down or bring you back to a certain level of who they used to be. If they said, you know what, the old version of me has expired and it doesn't resonate with me anymore, you should say, well, great. Congratulations for acknowledging that the way you used to be is no longer serving you. And I encourage you on your pursuit of whoever you want to be next. The reason why people have a hard time doing that is because, again, it makes them question themselves. It makes them say, is what I'm doing good enough? And that's not for anybody but themselves to say. Now, I'm bringing up this conversation because, of course, as you receive a new vision of who you're going to be next, of who you're shifting into, it is going to be very triggering to people in your life, especially if they haven't come to that resolution that they're ready to change as well. Not saying that people need to change just because you're changing, but notice the people who are encouraging the change and notice the people who are triggered by the change. And we need to acknowledge that it's not their fault that they're triggered by the fact that you're deciding to change. It is only them internally questioning, are they still in the right? Are they still doing what's best for themselves? Right? People might fight you in your life when you decide to change because it highlights to them where they should probably change, but they might not be ready to yet. And that's okay. I'll give you an example. If there is a husband and a wife, right? And the wife says, you know what, honey, I think I really want to start, eating healthier. I really want to start taking care of my body and like going on walks and just being healthy. I think I'm going to do that. And the husband is like, okay, do what you want, but you still better be making pork chops and mashed potatoes for dinner. You still better be buying the ice cream by the gallon when you go to the grocery store. You can eat your salad and your kale all you want to, but I still am going to have my 6-pack of beer every whatever, So it's not about the fact, they're not mad at the fact that you've decided to change. They are wondering how the change that you are making in your life is now going to affect them. I'll give you another example. If you're the girl who's like, you know what? I don't really feel great about sleeping around with guys anymore. It doesn't make me feel good. I think that I'm going to save my body for myself. And, maybe when I meet the right guy, then I will want to do that again. But right now, I don't want to do that. And you tell that to the guy that you've been sleeping around with because he knows he's the one who's benefiting from the fact that you are just giving yourself to anybody with no regard. He's the one who's been benefiting from the fact that you like to shoot up whatever you're shooting up, and they get to shoot up with you. As soon as you say, you know what, this is no longer good enough for me. Now they're personally offended. What do you mean you're no longer going to give me your body? What do you mean you're no longer going to drink with me on the weekends? What do you mean you're no longer going to X, Y, and Z? Who do you think you are? What do you mean you're going to start going to church on Sundays instead of sleeping in with me? What do you mean you're going to start whatever it is? It's not about you and why you've decided to change. It's about them and how they see themselves through the lens of what you've said you've decided to do. Okay? So don't be offended when people are disturbed by your identity shift. Don't be offended when you decide you're going to change and people try to convince you that what you were doing was good enough. Why? Because they are justifying your old identity based on the fact that they used to resonate with the version of yourself that you used to be. They're giving you pushback because they may no longer resonate with your new identity. And that's okay. When you decide to identity shift, you do not need to make it make sense to other people. You do not need to explain yourself to other people, because the fact of the matter is, when you identity shift, your mind is at a different place, right? When you identity shift, it's like going from the first grade to the fifth grade. Yes, you understand what you used to talk about at your first grade level. Yes, I understand the things that we used to do at first grade, but I'm at the fifth grade now. And that doesn't mean I'm looking down at you or talking shit about you for still being in the first grade. However, I'm learning something new in the fifth grade. And you cannot argue with me about what I'm learning at the fifth grade because you haven't made it to that place yet. And that's okay. Trying to argue with somebody about your identity shift is like arguing with a first grader about why you've decided to go to the fifth grade. This is just where I am now, right? And you're not going to cuss out the first grader saying, you're just stupid, you're just dumb, you don't understand what's going on at the fifth grade. No. You say, you know what? When you get there, you get there. It's not an argument. You don't need to convince people why you've decided to move to the fifth grade and why they are still at the first grade. It's not an argument. What is the best case scenario is people see you at the fifth grade level and they're like, wow, I'm so inspired by the life that you're living now that you're in fifth grade. You know what? I think I'd like to move up a grade level too. And then that shift happens naturally. Okay? You don't need to condemn people who are still in the first grade. You don't need to point the finger, make them wrong, tell them they're wrong. And typically people, when they identity shift, they're not trying to shame people and make the person in the first grade feel wrong. They're just like, I'm not there anymore. Right? I made the video about how I used to smoke weed, right? Used to love it. Used to have a grand old time. Okay? Still probably love it, but am I allowing myself to do it anymore? No. Why? Because I have a different conscious awareness. I don't live in the first grade anymore where whatever you say goes. No, I'm operating from fifth grade now. Understanding the pros and cons and weighing out the options and deciding I'm going to do this because I understand that this might be the better option. This might be the better outcome. Am I going to be making fun of people or talking down to people or making them feel like shit for still being at the level they're at? Absolutely not. Why? Because when you move up a level, when you reach a certain conscious awareness, but you have awareness too of what life is like at that level, you get it. You have compassion for people. You meet them where they're at. You let them make the decision to go up a level or to stay where they are. And no matter what anybody chooses, it's okay. Everyone has the right to choose their own life. Everyone has the right to make their own decisions. And just because you've decided to make a different set of decisions does not make you better or worse than anybody else. People are playing at the level that they're at, and we have to be okay with that. Another example, when I made the video about why I'm leaving the new age and, following God and doing that, I got some pushback. I got a lot of people unfollowing me, and I don't need you to follow me. It's completely fine. When you're no longer in alignment, I get it. That would be like me being upset, if I used to follow somebody and then they started making videos about, I don't know, whatever. And I'm like, you know what? That doesn't resonate with me, so I'm leaving. Okay, that's fine. But there was this one particular comment. I received a few different comments, but there was one comment that was like, you sound like you're easily influenced and you don't think for yourself. I feel as if people are offended when you decide to identity shift because it makes them take a look at their own life. But guess what? If what you were doing in your life was working for you, then you wouldn't be mad at somebody for what they're doing in their life, right? If somebody being a vegetarian or a vegan or whatever works for them, you're not going to be like making fun of them and like, you're so stupid, why don't you eat meat, you idiot? Like, what? If that's what works for them, then just let it work for them, right? As long as that person isn't like talking down or trying to condemn or, making somebody feel bad for the level that they're at, let them do them. All right. So that is my 2 cents on why your identity shift is so disturbing. Now, the question is, do you become vocal about your identity shift or do you just quietly shift? I think in some instances, it is okay to quietly shift. Let your life explain the shift. You don't need to explain the shift to people, right? You don't have to explain that you're different now, or that you do things different now, or that you think differently now, or that your lifestyle is different now. People don't need your explanation. Let them witness your life and let that be explanation enough. You don't need to explain your identity shift to anybody. Like maybe if you're married or you have a best friend and they're curious about it, sure, let's have a conversation. But don't be surprised when people are triggered by your identity shift. And please don't try and shove your identity shift down somebody's throat and expect them to be happy for you, because remember, they are comparing your personal shift to where they are in their own life and what they're doing in their own life. So instead of shoving your identity shift down people's throats, just quietly shift. And if somebody has a question about it, you can enlighten them, right? Like you're hanging out with your friend and they are pulling out a pack of cigarettes and smoking their cigarettes and they offer you one and you just say, you know what? No, I don't want. No, thank you. Not interested. And they're like, what? You always smoke with me. What do you mean? You don't want to smoke with me? No, I just don't do that anymore. You don't even have to make it a big deal. If they ask you about it, okay, let's talk about it. But shift in silence, right? You're hanging out with your friend and you decide, you know what, I don't want to eat meat anymore. I'm taking a break from eating meat. And you go to the cookout and they have a big, fat, juicy burger and somebody makes you a plate. You can just kindly just be like, no, I don't want that. No, thank you. You don't have to make it a big deal. Oh my God, I can't believe you put this cheeseburger on my plate. Don't you know who I am now? Don't you know that is wrong? No. Quietly shift. No, thank you. I don't do that anymore. Right? The guy hits you up like, ooh, don't you want to come over tonight? We're just going to cuddle. Like, don't you miss me? Don't you want to? No, thank you. What? What do you mean, no thank you? You always come over at like 12 o'clock at night. What do you mean? I don't want to do that anymore. Shift quietly. Don't make it a big deal. Don't act like you're better than anybody or holier than thou, right? And I really felt like that was the position I was trying to take in that video that I made about like leaving the occult and new age, right? I wasn't trying to tell people I'm better than you and I know the way or whatever. Absolutely not. I'm just letting you know what's working for me right now, right? And just because an influencer who you don't know says, you know what, I'm not into tarot anymore, I'm not into crystals anymore, that doesn't resonate with me anymore, right? You don't need to be triggered or offended. If it works for you, then let it work for you. And if it doesn't work for you, maybe you're getting offended because something in your spirit is questioning it, right? And that's just not just with that topic, it's with absolutely anything. When somebody is identity shifting, whether it's you or somebody else, notice how that shift makes people feel, whether it's you, right? Or whether it's somebody else. What is the response to the shift? That will tell you everything that you need to know about that person's mentality, where they're at mentally, and also where they're at in their own lifestyle or in their own personal walk. So that is the conversation that I wanted to have about why your identity shift is so disturbing. Do not be, like, oh my God, I can't believe they don't accept the new me. Who cares? Just be you. And it's okay. And it's okay if you need to reintroduce yourself to people. It's okay. It's because they see you as who you used to be. They see you as the little girl, the little boy, the teenager. They see you as who you used to be. Maybe they haven't met the new version of you yet. And that's okay. Just gently introduce them to the new version of you without being condescending, without trying to make yourself be better or above somebody else. Just say, you know what? I know it's been a while since you met the new me, or I know you were very attracted, or, you loved the old version of myself. That's not who I'm going to be anymore. I would love to introduce you to the new me. If you vibe with it, if it resonates with you, then great. Let's keep hanging out. And if it doesn't vibe with you and it doesn't resonate, it's completely okay. Everyone's got to get in where they fit in. And that is what I want to say. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. My name is Nija Sym, and I will see you in my next video.